Hey folks, welcome to the channel. It's time to close out February. It's hard to believe that month has gone by. It's taken so long. So this is my second month actually finalizing a month in the Budget by Paycheck Workbook. So things went a little bit smoother and I'm pretty happy about that. So let's grab our glasses and get right to it. And by the way, I do all of these, put these numbers in before the recording. If people have an interest in actually seeing me put those numbers in, I'm happy to share it. But I just thought everyone's time is precious, and instead of having to skip through it or use the chapters or whatever, that it might just be easier just to have those in there. So first, I'm going to start with the February view and go ahead and pull it in a little bit for you. So this was a no spend month. Looking a little bit crooked there. Um, so I have been trying to uh, be mindful about my expenses this month, and I did make 23 out of 20 days with no spend. Some of the no spends were like, this was like $2 here. It came out of my coin jar. This was another thing where it was $2 out of my coin jar because I was going to the games and I was tired and wanted some soda. Valentine's Day and then an eat out day as well. So overall, I think I did a pretty good job. My daughter Rachel also did no spend with me. She kind of lost steam here towards the end of the month because she is going to South Africa in a week, and she had to make a number of purchases just to get ready for that trip. So while she started off strong with me, she just kind of gave up this week, really. She was like, I've got things I've got to get. Just can't do this no spend anymore. So overall, we both did pretty good. I don't really have anything else to talk about in this weekly view other than the fact that my water bill moved to March, but I'm actually thinking that I might get two water bills in March. We'll just have to see how it plays out. If that's the case, I'll just put it in and we'll just account for it and you know, adjust as best we can. All right, so the first week of February went fine. Actually, I might do a two-page spread here just because I'm just going through these very quickly because we already looked at them in the weekly breakdown. As a reminder for folks who may not have been here during the weekly check-ins, originally at the beginning of the month, I was thinking I was going to pay off the season tickets in full, which was $1,275. But then as the month progressed, I realized the better option, because I had other expenses I have to deal with, was to go ahead and use their pay by month option, which doesn't cost me any extra money or incur any interest along the way. So that's what we did. I did put a little bit into the debt that I have. And I just started contributing to those sinking funds. On the second paycheck of the month, I did add $1,700 to debt. I wanted to add $2,100, but considering the adjustments I made to manage this, I think that $1,700 was not bad. And then, of course, I did set up the payment plan for the tickets. That'll start in March and go through October. And it's not 160. I think I have the amount in here. I just don't remember what it is right now. I, we went over these. These are just coming out of my checking account, all of the expenses. And since it was no spend, most of these are going to be necessity items: food, utilities, household, pet care, things like that. Generally, it went pretty well. Again, there were a couple times where I did spend. I purchased a crochet pattern for my daughter to make a gift for her. Something else. Yes, I had to get I wear very little makeup, but I do have an eyebrow pencil because, I'm 60 this coming month, and when I was growing up, it was very um, but everybody had these really thin eyebrows, and of course I overplucked, and so now I'm filling them in. So I buy eyebrow pencils every now and then just to fill in my weak eyebrows. TMI, guys, I know. I did have that food expense, which really I should not have had, but overall I think I did a fairly good job. And then at the end of the month, I went over to March with $0. Everything that I had went into either paying for the debt, paying for my, budgeted expenses, or going into seeking funds. So you can see here, oops, you can see here that I transferred the 1131 and I put it in healthcare. I had the 502 going into the beach house, and I will have 502 going into beach house every paycheck until it is due on April 24th. And then this is where I was trying to figure out what I was doing with those season tickets. But it's okay because the money was in there and I used it towards the debt, and I think that's was a better plan than just trying to pay for the season tickets. And this right here is my credit card statement, and I I don't know whether you know it, but I'm trying to move away from using my credit card altogether. In the past, I've used it as a tool just to earn points, like this. But I think that going forward, I truly am only ever going to use the um, credit card for very large purchases where I know I'll need to transfer money from a sinking fund. And again, I'll use it as a tool so that I can earn some points and take those points and apply them to whatever expenses I have. So I did accidentally pay this BJ's, but it's on my checking. I just paid it right away. You can see it's a payment, and this is from checking. I paid it right away when I realized I had done that. And then here's the payment for the $1,700 at the end of the month. So the next page is the debt payment plan. And this is where the plan was at the beginning of the month to try and pay off this $6,500 debt, is to pay $2,100 when I got paid at the end of at the end of the month after everything has been satisfied, and then when I got paid in my February 28th paycheck, that from that paycheck, the idea was that I was going to put $500 in. Neither of these are going to come into play. I am going to have to reduce those amounts, and again, to account for the fact that I have a bill due that is $2,000 on April 24th. So just adjusting for that, it just is going to be a little bit less. So I did put 1,740 into debt this month, which I think it's not as much as it was um, last month. Last month it was crazy amount. Let me see if I can show you that. Last month, and this was because I got I think I got a tax refund, and I don't know something. I don't know what else went on there, but I put $4,894 onto debt last month. So, it's not as impressive as that, but there's no way with the amount of money that I can make that I could maintain putting that much into this debt every single month. So, 1,740 I think is respectable. All right, let's go now to the monthly budget category breakdown. Oh, this went so much better this month. I don't know if you saw the video from last month, but it was a mess. It was a mess, and mainly because I want to do this in an atypical way. I mentioned I want to move away from using the credit card for anything, but in order to do that, I really need to fully understand my my, I guess my, not my expenses, but my actual, what I actually buy in a month. And the only way to do that is to include both my checking, any cash that I receive, and my debit card. That's the only way to understand that, is to get a complete view of what I'm actually spending or charging, as the case may be. So in order to do that, I came up with this formula, so to speak. So first you take all of the expenses, regardless of whether it was a a written from a check, any cash that I might have on hand, or anything that was charged. And this gives me a very accurate view of what I'm actually spending in a month. And then I take away, I say, okay, well, of this amount, I'm going to say less the debt accrued. And so what this comes up with is an adjusted balance that represents the amount that I spent from here, right? And then I say, okay, well, what is the amount I actually spent? Either I spent real dollars on, and I made that subtraction, and then I got about $2,000, and then I paid this amount in debt. Okay, and then I came up with $0 because I did have these sync contributions up here as well. I hope that makes sense. And as I was doing this, I kept misadding. And so what I actually did, and I'm going to see if I can share this, and hopefully it won't mess up the audio because this is my second time through this recording. Let's go and see if I can transition this in and show you what I had to do. So yeah, it looks like the audio is covered. I do use OBS, by the way, for recording these. And I use I can't remember what my cell phone is. I want to say it's a Google Pixel Pro. I just have it hooked up to a little arm that goes over top of my desk. And then I use OBS to determine which screen is showing. All right, so as you can see, I added just what came out of checking, what was in credit, how much debt I paid, and then all of my actual income, like what came into the house. So if we look at this, here is everything that came out of the account. And then what I did was I just summed all of this stuff up. First I summed it this way, and then I summed it this way. And I color coded this so I knew that, okay, I could use these numbers at the end of the month when you transfer your numbers over to, hold on. This, I could use these numbers here, right? So having this spreadsheet helps me numerous ways. So if they're this color, that means it was the, this is actually the total month spent on this category in these colors right here. I just added this up, and then I came down here, I added up my income, which is right here. I took out my expenses, and the debt paid. And then here we go. There's the debt paid. And then this all added up and it came down to 0. And all of these numbers matched from this spreadsheet into what was going on in my budget by Paycheck Workbook. So let me get back to that. And again, it just helped me from having to re-add this stuff, because I would add it and then I would add it again. It would be 2 different numbers, and I'm like, gosh, this is so inefficient. And so that's why I just started keying those numbers that way. And I will probably do it again next month, because it's just more efficient if I'm keying the number in one time and I'm 100% sure that it's correct. So this worked out exactly the way I did, and I will continue this, but my expectation is that we won't have this debt accrued very often. I'm just going to use it as a tool. So this worked out as expected. And hold on, let me move to the meal plan. This is where I track. So of my $400 budget, I track and figure out what went where because my food budget includes both going to the grocery store, dining out, and eating at the Civic Center. So here you can see the breakdown. Yes, I did. Um, Again, my challenge was not to have either one of these two categories, and I did, but I'm okay with that. I feel overall for everything that went on that it was not shameful. Let's just say that. And then the final thing I wanted to share, and this is a new page that I added to help me because I'm budgeting by paycheck. I know every month that I'm going to have two paychecks. This allows me to say, okay, for the category, what what did I spend for the first paycheck and then what's the balance? So this will allow me to make sure I'm staying on track for the second paycheck to hopefully not go over or at least try and minimize how much I go over. It needs a little bit of adjustment, but I think overall this is going to work for me. I don't even know whether or not I need this stuff because it's already included in some of these other pages that we have, right? But it is something good to see at a glance. And I believe that there are some YouTubers out there who will highlight whether or not it's a plus or minus to just quickly identify whether you went over or under. And I might do that next as a refinement for next month. We'll see. The other thing that I found this helpful was I was, I'm looking at what I'm budgeting to spend for the month, and I consider how much income I have, and I compare the two. And if we're following that we give every dollar a purpose, then I'm not giving every dollar a purpose. I have a significant amount that's just kind of hanging there. I'm not telling it what to do. And eventually, right now it's all going to debt. Whatever's remaining is going to debt right now. But eventually, these dollars will be assigned to sinking funds, and those sinking funds will have a target balance, and that's how I will manage that part. The other thing I wanted to do was kind of analyze whether or not I needed to adjust my entertainment sync or my entertainment monthly budget to account for the new payment that I'll be making from March to October for my season tickets. And I don't believe I'm going to need to do that. I will be keeping an eye on this. And while I'm making this payment, I will have to limit any of my entertainment expenses to roughly $50. And I think that's absolutely doable. Um, if I want to get a game, then I get one game a month. I don't buy two. If I want to get some yarn to do some crochet pattern or something else that I want to do that's not a gift, of course, then I just only purchase $50 within a month. So I just need to be mindful that that's my budget and try and stick to it. So here is my final, and we've talked about this. Continue with a low spend to transition away from being no spend. And then to refine my budgeted expenses. And again, that's to account for the idea that I want to give every dollar a job. So we'll do that in the coming months. It may not happen next month, but after we transition away from having to focus so much on debt. Oh, you can see that. There we go. Um, yes, interrupt my thought. After we finish paying off the debt, then we can start focusing on some of these larger budget adjustments and really assigning every dollar a job. And then the last thing in here, of course, is in the budget by paycheck workbook is give me a second. It's this. It's the yearly spending overview. And I'm finally getting to understand what this is doing. it's not saying what's left over, it's just what's not been assigned. And this makes perfect sense now. Last month I was a little confused because I had the expectation that the balance would be what would roll over for the next month. But no, it's just not, it's the balance of what's not been assigned. And that amount was um, sorry, my brain. That amount was what came in at the beginning of the month. I think. I don't know. I'm still learning. I don't even know. So if we look at all of this stuff, this is what came in at the beginning of the month, but this is, I was able to use that spreadsheet to just move all of this stuff over, and this was so much simpler being able to just refer to that spreadsheet with all of the categories. Yeah, definitely going to use that again. I do have the expectation that some of these expenses are going to have some uh, payments that I'm going to need to make that, that are going to be out of the normally. For example, pet care. And even though January was whoosh, yeah, $80 is going to be pretty standard for pet care, I think. I will have a pet care sinking fund that will have $500 in it. But before I can get that $500, I know that I need a cat tree in my office, which is actually my bedroom too. But yeah, because the cat tower that my cats around with me all day in is it's starting to rip in the little hammock part, and it's going to need to be replaced. Things like that. Um, those will come from the sinking funds when I have them, and they will be over the amount that will be typically budgeted for the month. And I think that covers it for the closeout for February. There is something I want to mention. So, just like anybody else who's budget minded, you go out and you watch other YouTubers, and you do this because not every YouTuber has the same set of circumstances. And so they may set up their budget differently. They may talk about things that relate more to you than, say, me. Right now, my focus is understanding what I'm spending so that I can retire. So that when I get to the space where I hand in my notice and I start receiving income from the funds that I've collected over the years, that I understand what I actually need so that I can pull the money out in a way that is not wasteful, but also gives me what I need to live a full life. I don't want to go in and start pulling out money and just saying, well, I'm only going to pull out the bare necessities, and because I don't know, I don't want to run out of money. That's not how I want to live when I'm in retirement. And having all of this information and analyzing it, giving it to my financial advisor and saying, this is what I do, this is how much I need to live a full life. Let's let's figure out whether it's going to be in 2 years or 5 years or whatever. So that's my focus. But your focus may be you've got a household full of kids and you need to start thinking about, okay, well, I would like my children to go to college, or maybe you want to buy them a car when they turn 18. Whatever your goal is not on retirement, it's on your children or it's on your spouse. You know, your circumstance is going to be different than mine. And by looking at all these other YouTubers, then you can find bits and pieces from everybody's channel just all together, and that's kind of what I did. There were some pieces that I liked from one channel and other pieces that I liked from other channels. In the end, I chose the budget by paycheck workbook because it fits my needs. But I've seen people who have their own spreadsheets. They have Etsy shops and they sell their own pages. You need a budget. They use, an app to manage their finances. I watch a whole bunch of different people to understand and also gain new knowledge so that I can manage budgeting and actually having being in control of my money instead of just being just completely unaware of what I'm spending. Just spending it because I have it, which is what I used to do. All that being said, what I am going to do, I know that there is a way that on the bottom of your page, your channel page, you should be able to link to the subscriptions that you have. So, what I'm going to do is try to get that page added there and show you all of the resources I used. Now, some of the resources I used were not YouTube pages. There are other things that I used, and I do have a folder of all of those things, and at some point I may share those with you. But they're simple worksheets and things like that uh, that are readily available. They're publicly available either through the government or through certain banks. But I'm going to see if I can put that down there so you can refer to other YouTubers who may be able to offer you advice in a different way that may be more relatable to you. So I'll take care of that. And I think that wraps up March, or excuse me, that wraps up February. And we'll move into March next week. And that will probably be on Saturday. So I'll talk to you then.